My name's Ken Toler. I'm the head of security at Filecoin Foundation. Filecoin Foundation is helping with the Filecoin ecosystem, and the main thing that we're doing is helping to store humanity's data. And we do that in, through the blockchain ecosystems and things like that. My role is to help facilitate security for that ecosystem through security programs and organizations that we establish across the board with all of these different organizations and teams to help fortify Filecoin as an ecosystem and in crypto. Let's say that there's a bug inside of the system. Every single person that updates that particular system is going to have that bug, which means that there is a global product or system that could be affected by that. So it's important for us to discover those early. The other thing that you have to think about here is that there's no one central component of these systems. A lot of this is made up of open source products or core contributors and libraries that are, these folks come from different countries, different places. They are, sometimes they're volunteering their time. It's important for us to keep an eye on what is going into code so that those types of outages don't happen. If we experience something like a chain halt, that downtime is detrimental to the entire system. And so making sure that we're resilient and being able to test for that, and not only test for it within the organization, but also with all of these different teams, becomes a real challenge when there's no unifying authority over that. And the goal is to have no real unifying authority, but that the participants are the ones authorizing this type of behavior. So a lot of that is built into the system, right? I mean, the cryptographic proofs inside of something like the Filecoin ecosystem help to provide some of that reliability, but also looking for ways like using antithesis that help us with testing. Being able to test beyond what you would see in a production environment is very important for us because we can't necessarily predict the behavior on the network, and we're reliant on those cryptographic proofs and the incentives that the ecosystem provides in order for folks to use it appropriately. What our goal is to try to establish that, right, and to make sure that we are pulling in these core components into some unified architecture so that we can test them independently and provide another lens for these teams to use in addition to their own test coverage. And we've seen that with some of these teams, they're very attracted to using it, and with other teams, they want to stick to their own testing pipelines. And the hope is that over time, it becomes so valuable for them to write these assertions that that is where they would shift their testing. We hope that over time, this becomes the most valuable way to test the software and to provide as much insight into that. I think the biggest impact, and I'm speaking from the security lens here, is that you have a method to detect high severity, high impact issues much earlier in the life cycle without putting undue strain or work on your engineers. People talk about shifting left, they talk about getting earlier in the SDLC. This is a common theme. And you'll see in the industry, we have trouble getting there. And this is something that you can do that has very tangible results to be able to see how you've made that shift. You can actually see, the proof in the pudding that there is a result that comes from testing this early, and it isn't after the product is deployed. I think when you talk about shifting left, this is one of the products or one of the tools that you can use that will actually help you do that. If you can look at this as both a testing platform or autonomous testing platform and as a way to test for security, I think that it will help to enhance and solidify the relationship between the security engineers and the application engineers. And it will make it so that security becomes an enabler to software development as opposed to a blocker. The antithesis team is one of the biggest helps to our success in being able to deploy the product. I think one thing that is amazing is how technically competent the engineering team is and how technically competent the antithesis support team is, and how willing they are to take feedback and be able to say, or adjust with us in terms of how we want to deploy this and how we want to get it into the hands of our engineers and into the hands of those teams. When you find that first bug that would be a higher critical severity issue reported by a security researcher, that's the switch. because that's a payout that you're not making to a researcher, which, sorry for the researcher, but that means that we found it earlier, months earlier, a year earlier, who knows, but we found it, and we can say that we found it before someone else did. And from a security perspective, how often can you say, I found this before someone else did?